Come do my first ever full face mold with me. So today I'm going to show you guys how I made Eliza. If you don't know who Eliza is, she's my first ever face mold that we turned into a haunted house character for the haunted house I work at. She was our 2024 icon character. She was the main character of the entire haunt. So I'm going to show you guys how I molded her from scratch and casted her, and we painted her onto my own face, and I put on the costume and I was literally Eliza. So I'm going to take you guys along. First off, I'm molding her out of clay, and yes, this is clay in a crock pot. This was the easiest way to heat it up and make sure it stayed moldable, which is actually hilarious. I'm just using clay, crock pot, a spoon, and molding. But first off, I'm going to tell you guys the backstory of Eliza. So basically, the story of Eliza, she went into an old library and found an artifact called the Dybbuk box. And basically, a Dybbuk box is an ancient box that's etched with cryptic symbols and eerie faces, and it was said to be cursed. It looks for a living human to attach itself to. So Eliza was a curious woman who stumbled upon the hidden room and found the Dybbuk box. She read the warnings that were etched in the dust-covered books around her, but she still opened the box because of curiosity. Instantly, the library was plunged into darkness, and whispers filled the room around her. The spirits in the Dybbuk box materialized and were swirling around Eliza, and she tried to escape and close the Dybbuk box, but the spirits clawed at her and gripped her and pulled her into the Dybbuk box. So basically, she became one of them. Her spirit was described in the story for the haunt as a ghastly woman's spirit materializing at the top of a staircase, her face being horrifyingly distorted, and where her eyes should have been, there were only cavernous black voids. So with all that being said, within the mold, we are trying to create those cavernous eye sockets that will be just black voids, and I try to give her a skeletal-like feel by carving out all of the eye sockets and the cheekbones and the nose, and her mouth is going to be open as if she's screaming, still screaming to get away from the spirits in the box. We gave her these sharp teeth, and one thing that Jordan, the owner of the haunted house, requested was that she had Thaban script, which is essentially a witch's alphabet. He wanted words carved into her skull. So what I did is I actually translated some of Eliza's story into Thaban script and then carved it around her skull, on the forehead, on the cheekbones, kind of just all around. Kind of like her story is going to forever haunt her. And then after I was finished with the mold, we went to the studio and we started to actually cast her ourselves, which obviously this is my first time ever doing this. I had no idea what I was doing. So Jordan was basically telling me what to do. I was helping him mix the ingredients and then watching him cast her. That way I know how to do it in the future. After we got all of the layers onto the mold, we just took a hairdryer and started drying the house down. Next up, we had to cover her entire face in plaster and these bandages. This is my favorite part. It's I don't even know how to explain it, but it's kind of like molding a sculpture or something. But then he let me write Eliza onto the molds. He labels all of his molds so he knows what he's going to be casting. And then she was all dry, so we went ahead and pulled her off. And this is what she looked like. And then we're keeping that mold in case we want to make more. And then we are pouring latex in there because it's going to be a latex mask that I'm going to be painting. So we pour the latex in there and we let that dry, and then it is ready to demold. And this is how she turned out. And then I made a thin one to make prosthetics with as well. So I'm just going around with that liquid latex and I'm making a really thin layer around it. Mine is going to be more focused on shaping to a human face, whereas his was kind of like half of a head. So I go around with a very thin layer, and then I go in between putting layers of latex and then using a hairdryer, putting another thin layer of latex after that dries, and then going in with the hairdryer. This will just make sure that I get all of those tiny details with the first layer, and then completely dry that with the hairdryer, and I can pull that out and paint it and make facial prosthetics with it. So I actually took the mold home with me to let it dry, and then I demolded the mask, and I used a hairdryer because the nose was still a little wet, and the bottom of that chin, there wasn't much details on there though, so thankfully that didn't mess it up any. And then here are the gloves we're going to be using, kind of how I described the translucent skeleton-like features. This is what Eliza is going to be based around. So I go in with a really light flesh tone. That way we can accentuate these as her bone-like skeleton features and match those fingers of the gloves. I actually did not add in all of the clips of the painting, so it was really hard to match these purples and pinks and blue tones of the gloves, but I ended up doing it pretty well. It's more like I gave it more grays and stuff too to make her more ghostly. And then I do show how I do the mouth. I did the inside red and the teeth an off-white color. And then after I finished painting the mask, we were going to do promo photos and videos. So I actually applied this onto my own face, and I had to cut little holes in the eye sockets because I literally could not see anything. And yeah, I extended down to my neck with liquid latex cotton and kind of made my neck features skeleton-ish. And so, oh, I also used clay. So I rolled some clay into like bone-like structures and then used latex and cotton to build around that. Bringing this down the neck is just going to make the costume more realistic rather than having like a mask just with my plain neck. So I extended it down to the collarbone, and I kind of added some divots that will match the Eliza face. And then I just covered this all with a thin layer of latex and kept building that up. Again, going between latex. I was literally using the hairdryer on myself too. So I was going in between layer of latex, then hairdryer, layer of latex and hairdryer, layer of latex and hairdryer, until this was pretty good of a base to work with. And this is what it will look like after it's all painted. And then we're off to the haunt. And this is Jordan, the owner of the haunt. He is actually airbrushing this. And then I put on the mask and the costume and the wig, and this character turned out absolutely stunning for my first ever haunt character from scratch. And I absolutely love it. Here's some little promo videos that we got. I hope y'all enjoyed. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.